All right, what's going on, guys? So I was recording Revolution, and as I was recording that video, MLB The Show tweeted something that I didn't really expect. It kind of came out of nowhere, but I feel like I had to make a video on it to make sure that you guys have all the information. So basically, we've got another big tournament, similar to the Fall Cup, big prize pool. Let's talk about it. So this right here is the tweet that they made. You can see it's from the verified account, and it says, New Year's Cup. The qualifiers start this weekend, which would mean tomorrow. So we got like a 24 hours notice, which really sucks, but it's also $10,000 in prizes. And then right here it says you must be 16 and older and a resident of the United States or Canada, active PS Plus subscription, blah, blah, blah. So, hey, we got another big tournament. We got another big prize pool. It just is really unfortunate that we did not get enough of a notice, because I know there's a lot of people who would really enjoy to play in this, and you can still play in it, but like a lot of people who really might have a good shot at winning some money or some prizes in this, but maybe can't play because the notice is just so short. Like, that's tomorrow. Now, I myself will be streaming this tournament tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure what time it starts. Usually the Fall Cup was starting somewhere around noon to 2 Pacific, so like 3 to 5 Eastern, somewhere around there. So hopefully it's around the same time, because I felt like that was a pretty good time to start it. So twitch.tv/Kooks46 if you want to see me play in some competitive MLB The Show action. So this right here is the article attached to the tweet. It's written by Steven Roberts, who's the VP of Global Competitive Gaming at Sony. And it says, hundreds of thousands of gamers of all skill levels have challenged each other for thousands of prizes, blah, blah, blah. That's just an intro. The second little paragraph says, the response to the Fall Cup was fantastic, and we've improved the tournament experience to give players more incentive to come back and compete every week. The tournament is open to all eligible participants, and there are multiple ways to qualify for the finals and earn a shot at the $10,000 prize pool, as well as weekly rewards. Taking a look at the next section, which has these bullet points, it says, the first qualifier begins January 11th, which once again is tomorrow, and the last one is February 1st, with 2 qualifiers happening each weekend. So it's pretty much exactly the same as the Fall Cup, 8 qualifiers, 2 per weekend for 4 straight weeks. So you got 8 qualifiers there. Everyone with the asterisk next to it. The asterisk is right here. It says MLB The Show 19, PS4 tournaments, New Year's Cup. Basically the same thing as a tweet. You must be 16 and older and a resident of the US and Canada, blah, blah, blah. But everyone will compete in a Swiss tournament system through the qualifier rounds. There are 2 ways to qualify for the grand final. So the top 64 point earners qualify to the final. So if you finish in the top 64 of points, or the top 8 finishers in each weekly tournament qualify directly to the final. So that might be a little bit confusing right off there, and you might not understand that right there, but basically here's what it is. If you finish in the top 8 for any of the 8 qualifiers, then you are automatically in the finals tournament. Now that is nice, because for maybe people who are pretty good at the game and usually finish near the top, as long as you finish in the top 8 of one of the 8, you really don't have to play in any of the other qualifiers. And then from there, if you don't finish in the top 8 in any of the qualifiers, as long as you finish in the top 64 of points of people who have not qualified as well, you have a spot in the tournament. So 128 people will once again be in the finals bracket. 64 of them will be from the highest points, and then the other 64 will be from the people who finished in the top 8 in all 8 of the qualifiers. Then this right here is one of the biggest deals to me. The grand final will be a seeded bracket determined by season-wide points and finishes throughout the cup. One of the biggest issues in the last one in the Fall Cup is the fact that the seeds at the end of the qualifiers for the actual bracket were just randomized. Like, I finished near the top and I had a seed that was really low for some reason, and someone who did much worse than me was finishing higher. It was a really messed up system. It basically made the 8 weeks or the 4 weeks of qualifiers irrelevant. So the fact that this is now seeded, it's a bracket determined by season-wide points, is a very big plus. So now let's go ahead and go over the more detailed rules of the tournament. This is once again going to be put on by ESL, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, they definitely took a lot of our our feedback into consideration. So hopefully this one is going to run a little bit smoother than it was in the first time around. Not saying it's going to be perfect, but hopefully it does go a little bit better. And by the way, I'm going to leave a link to all of this stuff in the description if you want to check out all of this for yourself. But the first thing I have a question on right here is where it says the age. It says the players must be at least 18 years old, and age of majority, whatever. But this says 18 years old, but in the tweet and the blog post it said 16. So is it 16 or 18? And then for residency requirement, participants have to live in the United States or Canada. I feel like Canada wasn't allowed in the last one. I feel like it was US only. I could be wrong about that. So if you're in Canada, you get to play, but you might have been able to play in the Fall Cup. I don't remember. All right, now we're going to get into competition structure. It's going to be structured exactly the same way as the Fall Cup. You've got 8 qualifiers, 2 per weekend for 4 weekends straight. So January 11th and 12th, 25th, 26th, February 1st and 2nd, and then February 8th and the 9th. Then for the finals, it's going to be February 15th and 16th. On the first day of the finals, you're going to have rounds 128 to 16. And then for the finals, you're going to, or the last day of the finals, you're going to have the quarters, the semis, and of course the grand final. For the online qualifiers format, it looks to be pretty much exactly the same as the Fall Cup, all the same rules. There was nothing wrong with the rules, so this is all really good for me. I'm glad this is all back. The same thing is going to happen with the 20 points for a win and a 5 points for a loss. All of that was really good. The scoring was great. And then this right here is more clarification on like the qualifying with the top 8 and stuff. So we'll just go over this really quickly again. Players may qualify for the Cup final in one of 2 ways. Number 1, placing within the top 8 scores in any given weekly qualifier, excluding any participant who already qualified in a previous week, or 2, placing within the top 64 scores across all weekly qualifiers, excluding any participant who qualified earlier. Thus, 128 total players will qualify for the Cup's finals. So once again, if you finish in the top 8 at any point in the qualifiers, you're automatically in, and if you don't, you have to finish in the top 64 of points to get in. So here's a new thing. I think these are tiebreakers, and it says to avoid and resolve ties between players in weekly qualifiers, it is mandatory to upload an end-game screenshot directly after every game. So the tiebreaker scoring points, for every win, it's 10 points. For every run you get a point. For every run you allow, you lose a point. If your opponent forfeits, that's 5 points to you, and it's 10 points if you do forfeit, or you lose 10 points if you do forfeit. Highest possible point total from a game is 20. Highest possible point total from a qualifier is 80. So all of these are just for tiebreakers. Just, make sure that you keep track of how many runs you score and whatever. Just keep track of that, and that will help you determine who actually has a higher seed in certain situations. For the second set of tiebreakers, it says to avoid and resolve ties between players in the overall ranking, the following points will be taken into account: the most wins, the best win percentage, and the most total runs scored. So at this point, the runs you score and the scores of your game actually do matter, so make sure you're taking screenshots after every game and keeping track of the runs you've scored. So now let's get down into more of the detailed stuff right here. This one is huge. Create a player. Created players are not allowed. I'm actually a really big fan of that. I thought that created player being in the last one was a little bit cheesy. The fact that you could use the 82 gold version of your created player and then just throw a ton of diamond equipment on him to make him basically another diamond. I thought that was kind of lame. I feel like we should just use cards that are in the game. So no created player. I'm a big fan of that. Home field. Determined at all stages by seeding. If players both have a 0 or identical ranking, home field advantage is randomized. That was a really big deal in the Fall Cup. There was literally no rules in place for who gets home field advantage at what point in the tournament. So the fact that it's now determined by seeding at all stages is really good. I do have one question though. If it's determined at all stages by seeding, is that seeding for the individual qualifier, or is that for your qualifier total as a whole? So for example, if we're on qualifier number 5 and I'm playing somebody and I have more overall points in the qualifiers as a whole, but he is maybe a higher seed so far in this individual qualifier, who's home field in that scenario? So just a small little question that I think could easily get cleared up, or maybe I'm just reading too far into it and I don't know. It looks like the team restrictions are pretty much exactly the same with the 395 diamond Position players, the 3 mid-tier diamond position players, and the rest 84 below. Starting pitchers are the same, bullpen is the same, and once again, creative player is not allowed. I thought the team restrictions were perfect. I thought that was really well made. Now, this is the interesting one, the Cup Finals format. So this is talking about the finals tournament. You qualified, you're in the top 128, you make it to the finals. We are now playing single elimination still, but we now have best of 3 3-inning games. So it's no longer just 3 innings and you're done. You now have a best of 3 to try to get out of that. That's huge. Adding that is a really, really big deal. So the fact that we have best of 3 is really nice. Then when you get to the actual day 2 of the bracket for the quarterfinals, the semis, and the grand final, those are all going to be 9-inning games. I assume those are also 3 or best of 3. I believe it would be. And then this is the one that's really confusing right here. It says starting pitcher. In the final, you cannot pitch with the same starting pitcher during a best of 3 series. It says game 1, you start your starting pitcher 1 slot. Game 2, you start your starting pitcher 2 slot. And game 3, you start your starting pitcher 3 spot. We don't have the ability to pick our starting pitcher, and that's only giving us 3 spots in the rotation. So I think the only way to avoid that is to, like, let's say you land on Kershaw for the best of 3 in game 1. You have to then take Kershaw out of your rotation after that. That's the only way that it could be done, but maybe that's a feature coming for 20. We're going to be able to pick our pitchers. I don't know. That's something that I think definitely needs to be clarified. And then as far as the rest of the stuff, it's all pretty much exactly the same as the Fall Cup. It's all fine print stuff like what do you do in terms of a no-show, how do you submit screenshots, all this stuff. And then for the prizing is pretty much exactly the same. If you finish in first place, you get $4,000. Second place, you get $2,000. Third and fourth get $1,000, and then 5th through 8 get $500. And then throughout the qualifiers, if you finish in first place in the qualifier, you get 1,000,000 stubs. Second place, 600,000. The prizing works exactly the same as the last tournament. So yeah, the New Year's Cup. It's here. We have another tournament for MLB The Show 19. I really didn't expect this. I thought they were most likely going to wait until the show 20 before they started new tournaments, but hey, it's a welcome surprise. I do just wish that it was announced further in advance than one day, because I know a lot of people aren't going to get to play, and it's a little unfortunate. Either way, let me know if you guys are excited for this tournament. Are you going to be playing in it? Are you going to give it a go? Remember, if you finish in the top 8 at any point in the qualifiers, you're automatically getting yourself qualified for the tournament. So in the first qualifier, if you finish in the top 8, you're good. Like, you qualify. You don't have to play in any other ones. I don't know if you can get a higher seed by playing in the other ones. You probably can, but at the end of the day, if you finish in the top 8 at all, you're good. So it doesn't have to be a 4-weekend commitment this time. You're good. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments if you guys are going to participate in the New Year's tourney or not. Remember, I'll be live on Twitch tomorrow when it starts. As of right now, I don't know where you sign up because it's not showing up on ESL. I don't know if it's in the tournament section for MLB The Show yet. I'm not sure. Follow me on Twitter and I'll tweet out if I figure out where to sign up. Kooks46 is my Twitter. But yeah, hopefully we have another fun tournament. Hopefully this one is run a little bit more smooth and it should be good to go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Good luck in the tournament.